In this episode, we're going to start talking about fractions. Now, I know that fractions have a tendency to freak people out, but really, honestly, fractions are not that much worse than the negative numbers that we just finished talking about in episode 2 and in episode 3. In episode 2, we introduced negative numbers and we talked about what physically do negative numbers represent. And then we talked about, okay, this is how you add and this is how you subtract negative numbers. And then we talked about, okay, this is how you multiply and this is how you divide negative numbers. So there was a way to add and subtract, and then there was a different way to multiply and divide. And it's going to be the same with fractions. Step number one is we're going to figure out, okay, what do fractions represent in the real world? And how do you decide, which fraction is bigger than another fraction? And then we're going to talk about, okay, how do you multiply and divide fractions? And then we're going to talk about, okay, how do you add and subtract fractions? So it's going to be the same kind of progression that we just did in episodes 2 or 3. So if you were okay in episodes 2 or 3, you're going to be okay in episode 4, you're going to be okay in episode 5, and you're going to be okay in episode 6. It's the same kind of thing we just finished doing with negative numbers. So what do fractions represent? To give you a scenario where a fraction would be involved, suppose that I have just one pizza and I want to share that one pizza evenly among 8 people. So I have a single pizza, one, and I want to divide that one pizza among 8 people. One divided among 8, one divided by 8. The issue is that because I just have the one pizza, each person is only going to get a portion of that pizza, right? I'm going to have to cut the pizza into pieces to make sure that everyone gets the same quantity of pizza. So I take my pizza, one whole pizza, and I cut it up. I get my pizza cutter out and I cut it up into 8 pieces, and each individual person is going to get one piece out of that 8. This one piece out of 8, this one pizza trying to be divided among 8 people is a fraction. A fraction, 1 over 8, a fraction or a portion of this pizza, a small portion of this pizza. This is what fractions represent, portions of a whole object. Likewise, if I have 16 candy bars that I want to split evenly and fairly among 5 people, if I want to take 16 candy bars and divide it equally among 5 people, I'm going to have to take at least one of those candy bars and cut it up, right? Because if I have 16 candy bars and I want to split it evenly among 5 people, I could say, okay, you get this bar, you get this bar, you get this bar, and you get this bar, and then you guys get this bar. And then another bar to this person, another bar to this person, another candy bar here, another candy bar here, another candy bar here. Okay, another candy bar here, another candy bar here, another candy bar here, another candy bar here, another candy bar here. So far, each of these 5 people has gotten 3 candy bars, but now I have a remaining candy bar that I have to cut up into pieces if I'm going to distribute the candy bar fairly among these 5 people. I'd have to go into this candy bar and cut it up into 5 portions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'd have to cut that candy bar up into 5 pieces, and I'd have to give each one of those people one of those 5 pieces of the candy bar. This piece would go over here, this piece would go here, this piece would go to this person, this piece would go to this person, and that piece would go to that person. So each person, if I try and split 16 candy bars among 5 people, each person is going to get 3 full candy bars, and they're also going to get one piece out of the 5 pieces into which I split this final remaining candy bar, one divided among 5 people, 1 piece out of the 5 pieces I made, 1 out of 5 would go to each person to distribute that last candy bar fairly. Now, when we're working with fractions such as 1/5, such as 16 over 5, such as 1 over 8, when we're working with fractions, the number at the top of the fraction, the number over the bar, is what's called the fraction's numerator. The numerator of a fraction is the number on top of the bar. The denominator refers to the number that is underneath the bar. So for example, if I'm working with a pizza and I have one pizza divided evenly among 8 people, and I divide that pizza into 8 pieces and I give each person one of those pieces, then the one in the top is the numerator and the 8 in the bottom is the denominator. And the numerator is telling you how many pieces each person gets. Each person would have to get one piece, one slice out of this pie. The numerator contains the NUM for like number, right? And so the numerator is the number of pieces each gets. The denominator is telling you basically the size of each piece. If your denominator is 8, that means that your pizza has been cut into 8 pieces. So each piece is relatively small if your denominator is 8. If your denominator is 5, like in 16/5 or 1/5, that's telling you your candy bar has been cut into 5 pieces. That 5 is telling you the number of pieces into which your object has been cut. So let's write that down. The denominator tells you the number of pieces that the object has been cut into. And the numerator tells you how many pieces you get. So for example, if someone gave me the fraction 1 over 4, 1 over 4, or you would also hear it called 1/4. If I were to draw a sketch that represents this fraction, then I would take an object like a circle or a square or a bar or something, and I would start by cutting that object into 4 pieces. The denominator is 4, so I have cut my object into 4 pieces. So cut into 4, say something like this, or cut into 4 like this, or cut into 4 like this. The numerator is 1, so that tells me that of these 4 pieces, I get to take 1 piece. So I get one of these 4 pieces, or one of these 4 pieces, or one of these 4 pieces. I get 1 piece from that. And that makes sense, because if I have one pizza, and I'm trying to divide that among 4 people, then I could cut that pizza into 4 pieces and give each person one of those 4 pieces, and that would be a way to divide the pizza evenly among those 4 people. One piece from 4 pieces, 1 out of 4. Or someone could say, draw a sketch that represents 5 over 6, the fraction 5 over 6. So I could do a bunch of different things here. Just start with some object, like a square or a circle or something. And since the denominator is 6, I'm going to go ahead and cut that object into 6 pieces. So I could, for example, cut it like this, something like that. Or I could, for example, cut it like this, and that would cut the object into 6 evenly sized pieces. And then my numerator here is 5. So I would take 5 pieces from that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of the 6 pieces I can take. If I had, for example, 5 pizzas and I wanted to distribute them amongst 6 people, I could cut each pizza into 6 slices and I could give each person 5 of those slices. That would be a way to distribute the pizza evenly. Okay, and one more example, draw a sketch that represents 3 out of 8, 3 over 8. I could, for example, take a circle and split that circle into 8 pieces because 8 is my denominator. And then I am allowed to take 3 of those pieces, 3 of those 8 pieces that I have made. So 3 over 8, 3 out of 8. This portion of an object, this is what is represented by the fraction 3 over 8.